So let's talk about something that drives a lot of people crazy. Why doesn't the most qualified person always get the job? The secret isn't just about what you know, it's really about how well you communicate it. Let's dive in.
I mean, it's a super frustrating question, right? You've got the skills, you've got the experience, you've got the drive, but somehow the job offer goes to someone else. So why does this keep happening? Well, the answer, more often than not, isn't about your expertise, but all about your communication.
A lot of professionals, they hit this thing we can call the talent wall. It's that point where your technical skills are top-notch, totally undeniable, but for some reason, it's just not enough to get you across that finish line. There's a gap. And honestly, this is a huge challenge in today's job market. You could literally be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't really articulate your value during an interview, it's like your expertise is invisible. So the real question is, how do you break through that wall?
Well, the first key is all about interview strategy. See, it's not just about answering questions. It's more like playing a strategic game. Let's look at a real-world example of how just a little bit of targeted coaching can completely flip the script.
Okay, so let's meet our first professional. She was in clinical research, had an amazing resume, and was totally comfortable with day-to-day English. On paper, she was the perfect candidate. But once she got in the interview room, something just wasn't clicking. And here it is, the heart of the problem. The interviewers, they just weren't seeing her true potential. There was this major disconnect between her incredible expertise and how she was presenting it. Her answers just weren't landing with the kind of impact they should have. So, what did it take to fix this? Not years and years of study. It took just 7, that's it, 7 highly focused coaching sessions. And this wasn't about learning more English grammar, nope. It was about learning the strategy of the interview itself. How to frame your answers and really communicate with confidence. Now, here's where it gets really amazing. After that coaching, the transformation was just wow. She wasn't just competing anymore. She was actually outperforming native English speakers who were going for the exact same jobs. And the proof is right here. 2 job offers for management-level positions. It just goes to show you that mastering the performance of an interview is every bit as important as the knowledge you bring in. But believe it or not, that's only half the story. So what happens when you nail the interview and you actually get the job? Well, sometimes that's when the real communication challenges pop up. You suddenly have to learn all these unspoken rules, this language that you will not find in any textbook. This is all about navigating cultural norms, and trust me, it can be a total minefield. Okay, so our second case study is this incredibly sharp student from Lithuania with a master's degree. And her English was fantastic, super clear, really direct, totally logical. The kind of communication you'd think would be a huge advantage, right? But then she entered the world of the UK boardroom, and she was just completely lost. Her direct, logical style was clashing with that famously indirect British approach. It led her to ask this, which is a perfect question. She was missing all the subtext. So, welcome to the secret code of British business English. When a colleague says, let's circle back to that, you might think, great, I'll put it on the agenda for next week. But what it often really means is, we are never, ever talking about this again. End of story. Oh, or this one's my favorite. Someone says, that's an interesting point. You might be sitting there thinking you've just made this brilliant, game-changing contribution, when in reality it can be a very polite but very firm signal to, please, for the love of all that is good, wrap it up. Understanding this code is basically a survival skill. So she got coached on the real rules. We're not talking about grammar here, we're talking about nuance. Things like hedging your statements with phrases like, it would seem that, or one could make the argument, or softening your opinions, talking about the process instead of blaming people. And, this is a big one, the fine art of sounding decisive while keeping all your options open. And what happened? She landed a fantastic role with a major employer. Nothing changed about her intelligence or her skills. The only thing that changed was her ability to speak this unspoken language. And it was a total game changer for her career. Okay, so when we put these 2 stories together, what do they really tell us? Well, they point to this incredibly powerful truth about what it really means to master professional communication in this global world we live in. And this right here is the key takeaway. True fluency, it's not about having perfect grammar or knowing a million vocabulary words. It's about strategic understanding. It's about reading the room, decoding the subtext, and figuring out what people are truly saying beyond the actual words they're using. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Every industry, every company, heck, every team has its own secret language. So, are you just speaking the words, or are you actually fluent in what's really being said? Because your next big career move, well, it might just be getting lost in translation.